For months, Can Yaman had kept a remarkably low profile. While fans continued to follow his career, interviews, and public appearances, there was a noticeable absence of the kind of personal moments that once sparked endless conversations across social media. As time passed, many supporters simply assumed that he had chosen to keep more of his private life away from the spotlight, focusing instead on new projects and professional commitments. Then, without any warning or dramatic announcement, everything changed with a single post. One ordinary photo appeared on Can's official social media account. At first glance, it seemed simple, even routine. There was no lengthy caption, no explanation, and no obvious attempt to make headlines. It looked like one of those casual updates celebrities often share between filming schedules or promotional events. But within minutes, thousands of fans were looking at it from a completely different perspective. The comments section quickly filled with observations. Some viewers focused on the location shown in the background, while others paid close attention to Can's expression, his outfit, and even the smallest objects visible in the frame. Before long, social media platforms were buzzing with screenshots, zoomed-in images, and countless discussions about what the photo might reveal. What made the situation especially interesting wasn't the image itself, it was the way fans collectively began connecting small details to moments from the past. Many longtime followers remembered previous interviews, public appearances, and older social media posts that seemed, in their view, to share subtle similarities with this latest picture. Although none of these observations confirmed anything on their own, they encouraged a wave of speculation that spread surprisingly fast. Some believed the location carried special meaning. Others suggested that the timing of the post was more significant than it first appeared. A different group argued that the real clue wasn't in the background at all. It was hidden in the overall mood of the photograph. Within just a few hours, fan pages from different countries were posting side-by-side comparisons. Old photos resurfaced. Archived interviews were revisited. Even details that had gone unnoticed months earlier suddenly became part of a much larger conversation. This is something that often happens in the world of entertainment. Fans don't simply consume content, they analyze it. Every image, every caption, and every appearance can become part of an ongoing story that supporters try to piece together. While celebrities rarely explain every decision behind a post, audiences naturally enjoy looking for patterns and possible meanings. In Can's case, that curiosity has always been particularly strong. Over the years, his global fan base has shown an incredible ability to notice tiny details that casual viewers might overlook. Whether it's a familiar location, a meaningful accessory, or even the way a photo is framed, these observations frequently become the center of online discussions. Of course, it's important to remember that social media allows room for many different interpretations. A photograph can inspire dozens of theories without any of them being officially confirmed. What one person sees as a meaningful clue, another may simply view as coincidence. Still, that didn't slow the conversation. As more people joined in, new ideas continued to emerge. Some fans pointed out similarities between this latest image and photos shared months earlier. Others highlighted visual details that they believed reflected a new chapter in Can's life, while some insisted that the post was simply an artistic moment with no hidden message at all. Interestingly, the lack of an explanation only fueled even more curiosity. If there had been a detailed caption describing the context behind the image, many of these discussions might never have happened. Instead, the silence surrounding the photo encouraged people to fill in the blanks themselves, creating an endless stream of interpretations across different platforms. Entertainment pages soon picked up the conversation, summarizing the most popular fan observations without presenting them as confirmed facts. This helped the discussion reach an even wider audience, bringing in people who hadn't originally seen the post but became curious after hearing about the reactions online. Whether any of these theories ultimately prove meaningful remains impossible to say based solely on the image itself. What is undeniable, however, is the remarkable speed with which one simple photograph transformed into one of the most discussed topics among Can's followers. It demonstrated once again how a single social media post can capture global attention, not necessarily because of what it clearly shows, but because of the conversations it inspires. And as more people continued examining every corner of the image, one particular detail began attracting more attention than anything else, leading many fans to wonder whether it was completely accidental or quietly intentional. As the first wave of excitement settled, the conversation took an even more interesting turn. What had started as a simple discussion about one photo gradually evolved into a much larger search for context. Fans weren't just looking at the image anymore. They were revisiting months of Can Yaman's public activity, hoping to understand whether this latest post fit into a broader pattern. Some supporters scrolled through older Instagram uploads, comparing locations, lighting, clothing, and even the style of photography. Others revisited interviews from recent months, paying close attention to comments Can had made about work, travel, and personal growth. While none of these moments directly explained the new photo, many believe they painted a picture of someone entering a new chapter. One detail, in particular, kept appearing in online discussions. It wasn't something dramatic or immediately obvious. In fact, many casual viewers admitted they hadn't noticed it until fans pointed it out. But once highlighted, it became almost impossible to ignore. Screenshots began circulating across fan communities, with arrows and circles emphasizing the exact area that had captured everyone's attention. The fascinating part was that people interpreted the same detail in completely different ways. Some believed it symbolized confidence and peace after an incredibly busy period filled with professional commitments. Others thought it reflected a conscious decision to embrace a quieter, more personal lifestyle. A few even suggested it could hint at future projects, arguing that celebrities sometimes leave subtle visual clues before making official announcements. Of course, these remained personal interpretations rather than confirmed facts. Still, the mystery continued to grow. As conversations expanded beyond Instagram, discussions appeared on X, Facebook, Reddit, and fan forums around the world. Every platform seemed to develop its own theory. Some communities focused on symbolism, while others approached the image almost like detectives, comparing every visible detail with previous public appearances. Interestingly, many longtime fans urged others to remain cautious. They reminded everyone that social media often encourages speculation, and that a single photograph doesn't necessarily carry a hidden message. According to these voices, it's entirely possible that the image was simply a beautiful moment Can wanted to share without expecting such an enormous reaction. That balanced perspective resonated with many people. Even those who enjoyed discussing theories acknowledged that celebrities deserve the freedom to post ordinary moments without every detail being interpreted as a coded announcement. At the same time, fans admitted that curiosity is part of what makes following public figures so engaging. This balance between excitement and realism became one of the defining features of the discussion. Meanwhile, entertainment pages continued reporting on the growing buzz. Rather than presenting conclusions, many articles summarized the most popular fan observations and emphasized that there had been no official explanation regarding the photograph. That distinction proved important, helping separate confirmed information from audience speculation. Another factor contributed to the photo's popularity. Can had remained relatively quiet on social media compared to previous periods of his career. Because updates had become less frequent, every new post naturally attracted more attention than usual. Fans who had been waiting for weeks or even months for a personal update found themselves examining every element of the image simply because it represented a rare glimpse into his current life. Some followers described the photo as calm and reflective. Others focused on the atmosphere rather than the details, saying the image felt different from many of his previous posts. Instead of projecting excitement or glamour, they sensed a more relaxed and thoughtful energy. Whether that impression reflected reality or simply the audience's own expectations remained impossible to determine, but it added another layer to the conversation. Then another observation began spreading. Several fan accounts noticed how quickly the post had generated engagement compared to recent uploads. Likes, comments, and shares climbed rapidly, pushing the image into trending conversations among entertainment communities. New viewers who hadn't followed Can closely suddenly became curious enough to visit his profile and see what everyone was talking about. Ironically, many of them finished looking at the same photograph with exactly the same question. What is everyone seeing that I'm missing? That simple question encouraged thousands more people to inspect the image themselves. Some left convinced there was a meaningful detail hidden in plain sight. By the following day, the conversation surrounding Can Yaman's photo had reached an entirely new level. What began as a handful of fan observations had grown into a worldwide discussion, with supporters from different countries comparing ideas, sharing screenshots, and offering their own interpretations. Interestingly, the most popular theory wasn't necessarily the most dramatic. Instead, many fans focused on the possibility that the photo reflected a personal moment, rather than a carefully planned public statement. They argued that the image felt authentic precisely because it didn't appear designed to attract attention. There was no dramatic caption, no promotional message, and no attempt to explain what viewers were seeing. That simplicity became part of the mystery. Many longtime followers pointed out that Can has often preferred to let his work speak for itself. Throughout different stages of his career, he has generally avoided commenting on every rumor or online discussion. Because of that, fans have become accustomed to interpreting public appearances and social media posts through their own perspectives. Whether those interpretations are accurate is another question entirely. Some observers noticed that the atmosphere of the photograph felt noticeably different from previous uploads. Instead of focusing on luxury, travel, or large public events, the image appeared quieter and more reflective. That shift encouraged many people to wonder whether Can was intentionally presenting a different side of himself. Others disagreed. They argued that people often assign meaning to ordinary moments simply because they expect celebrities to communicate through hidden messages. From this perspective, the photograph may have been nothing more than a spontaneous snapshot shared without any deeper intention. Both viewpoints quickly gained supporters. Across fan communities, discussions remained surprisingly respectful. Rather than insisting that one theory was correct, many participants openly acknowledged that everything being discussed was based on personal interpretation. That willingness to separate observation from fact helped keep the conversation balanced. Even as excitement continued to grow, entertainment commentators also joined the discussion. Several noted that this type of reaction has become increasingly common in the age of social media. Fans now have access to years of archived content, making it easy to compare new posts with older photos, interviews, and public appearances. As a result, even the smallest visual detail can become the starting point for countless theories. Can's latest post seemed to fit perfectly into that pattern. Within hours, comparison posts were appearing everywhere. Some fans placed the new image next to photographs from previous years, highlighting similarities in composition, scenery, or expression. Others revisited memorable career moments, suggesting that the overall mood of the photo reflected the confidence and experience he had gained over time. Again, none of these observations confirmed anything. Yet that uncertainty became part of what kept people engaged. Human curiosity naturally seeks patterns. When information is limited, people often begin connecting details in an attempt to create a complete story. Social media amplifies that process by allowing thousands of individuals to contribute their own perspectives, each adding another possible piece to the puzzle. The result is something far larger than the original post. In many ways, the conversation surrounding the image became more significant than the photograph itself. Millions of viewers weren't just reacting to what Can had shared, they were reacting to one another's ideas. Every new comment inspired another observation. Every theory generated another debate, and every discussion encouraged even more people to examine the image for themselves. That collective curiosity transformed one ordinary upload into one of the week's most talked about entertainment moments. Meanwhile, fans continued asking the same question. Would Can eventually respond? Historically, he has rarely addressed online speculation directly. Many supporters believed he would simply continue posting normally, allowing discussions to develop on their own. Others wondered whether a future interview or social media update might naturally provide more context without specifically referencing the theories. For now, however, there were no official explanations. And perhaps that was exactly why the story continued attracting attention. Sometimes, unanswered questions remain more powerful than immediate answers. A mystery invites participation. It encourages people to look closer, think differently, and exchange ideas with others who notice something completely different. Whether the widely discussed detail carried any real significance ultimately remained unknown. But one fact was impossible to ignore. After months of relative silence, a single photograph had reminded everyone just how closely Can Yaman's global audience follows every new update. Without making a dramatic announcement or issuing a public statement, he had sparked days of conversation across multiple platforms. As the discussions slowly began to settle, fans realized that perhaps the most interesting part of the story wasn't discovering a hidden message at all. It was seeing how one simple image brought together thousands of people, each viewing the same photo through a different lens, and each finding a slightly different story within it. As the initial excitement gradually faded, one thing became increasingly clear: the photograph had achieved something few social media posts managed to accomplish. It encouraged people from around the world to pause, observe, and participate in a conversation that extended far beyond the image itself. Days after it was shared, fans were still discussing the same questions. Was the widely noticed detail meaningful? Was it simply a coincidence? Or had the audience collectively created a story from a perfectly ordinary moment? The truth is that only Can knows the full context behind the photograph. Without an official explanation, every interpretation remains exactly that, an interpretation. While some observations may seem convincing, none can be presented as confirmed fact unless Can chooses to address them himself. Interestingly, many fans eventually reached a similar conclusion. Instead of trying to prove that one theory was correct, they began appreciating the conversation itself. The photo became a reminder of how deeply audiences connect with public figures they have followed for years. Every new update represents more than a picture. It becomes another chapter in an ongoing story that fans naturally want to understand. That emotional connection explains why even the smallest moments can generate worldwide attention. For longtime supporters, Can's career has never been defined solely by films, television series, or public appearances. They've watched his professional journey evolve, celebrated milestones, and followed new opportunities across different countries. Because of that history, every new post carries a sense of familiarity, even when it contains no obvious message. Social media also plays an important role in shaping these moments. Unlike traditional interviews, a photograph invites viewers to form their own conclusions. Some focus on facial expressions. Others notice locations, colors, lighting, or composition. Different people naturally notice different things. And that diversity of perspectives often makes discussions far more interesting than the original content itself. In this case, one image inspired thousands of unique viewpoints. Some fans believed it reflected confidence. Others saw calmness. Many interpreted it as a sign of personal growth. A few thought it hinted at exciting future developments, and plenty of people simply enjoyed the photograph for exactly what it appeared to be, a well-composed snapshot shared with followers. None of those reactions are inherently right or wrong. They simply demonstrate how audiences engage with public figures in today's digital world. Every viewer brings their own experiences and expectations, creating conversations that continue long after the original post disappears from the front page. Perhaps that's why the image became so memorable. It wasn't because it answered every question. It was because it encouraged people to ask them. Sometimes the most engaging stories aren't built around dramatic revelations. Instead, they grow through curiosity, discussion, and the willingness of people to exchange ideas while respecting that not every mystery has an immediate solution. For Can, the photograph also highlighted something that has remained consistent throughout his career: his ability to capture attention without saying very much at all. Whether intentional or accidental, one quiet social media update generated global conversations that lasted for days. That level of audience engagement is difficult to create. It doesn't depend only on popularity. It also reflects the relationship between a public figure and the people who continue following every new step of the journey. When that connection is strong, even a simple image can become the center of worldwide discussion. Eventually, newer headlines will replace this. Fresh interviews will appear. New projects will be announced. Another photograph will almost certainly attract attention in the future, but this particular moment will likely be remembered as another example of how curiosity can spread across the internet in a matter of minutes. A single image, viewed by millions, inspired countless conversations, not because it confirmed anything, but because it invited people to look a little closer. And perhaps that's the real story. Not whether one hidden detail truly changed everything, but how one quiet post reminded everyone that sometimes the biggest conversations begin with the simplest moments.